released to parents, and it created panic across the province. Out of that panic, we've managed to present all the relevant systems within the department so that they can respond positively to that particular call. What unfortunately happened is that because our district offices were not that combat ready to welcome the number of people that arrived, it was extremely difficult for those numbers to be processed, and in the process there were parents that were frustrated, and there were parents that could not be attended that needed either medical help or needed support in terms of water, in terms of sanitation. And it's within that context that we want to apologize as a department. This morning, I convened an emergency meeting with the leadership of the department where, in no uncertain terms, I expressed my disappointment, and I also expressed regret that we've treated our constituency in that particular fashion. All the managers, without exception, apologized for the mishap and committed themselves to roll up their sleeves so that we can attend to this challenge as quickly as possible. After that management meeting, we will be in a position to provide you the latest information that will explain where we are. Besides the mishap of that SMS, we are quite convinced as a department that the matter is completely under control, and the remaining challenges that we have are challenges that will be responded to by extending the deadline from the 31st of October to the 30th of November so that we can solve all these problems. And I'm sorry, journalists, I think you have to take out your calculators out now that we're going to talk figures. And I know some of you calculation might not be something that you prefer, but I'll make it as simple as possible. And I'll round up the numbers, so if you see some one or two differences, please bear with us. I'm trying to round up the numbers so that we can understand what we have. When we opened the registration and closed it, we received 310,000 applications, which simply means 310,000 people lodged applications on behalf of their learners. And you know, others are twins, others are siblings, others are brothers and sisters. So out of the 310,000, we asked those that applied to give us documents. Documents is a proof that indeed you are a human being. Because other people test the system, and other people say to a parent, you test that side, I will test this side to check if the system is working. You know, we come from the history where the system was not functional. So people wanted to be sure. Of the 310,000 that applied, we could establish that 27,000 did not give us documents. If you don't give us documents, it means if you are a non-South African, you have not given us a work permit. If you are a South African, you have not given us an ID and a proof of address. If you are a grade 1 learner, you have not given us an immunization card, so that we are quite convinced that you have a learner. If you minus that, you are left with 282,000 legitimate applications. I'll repeat those numbers. 310,000 applied, 27,000 didn't give us documents, we're left with 282,000. As I'm speaking to you now, so that we don't have any confusion, as I'm speaking to you now, it's only 34,553 learners that don't have spaces at all in Gauteng. So according to this, we've managed to place 85% of learners. So we're left with 15%. I'm emphasizing this point because parents say, if you have not placed us in the last 3 months, can you place us within a month? And that's a debate that was coming through. And we want to emphasize the point that we've already given spaces to 85%, and we are left with 15%, and we're extending the placement from today to the 30th of November. So during that period, we'll be in a position to place all the learners. What does these numbers stipulate? I want to unpack the 34,000 that have not received placement. Of those 34,000, 13,000, I said I'm using round figures, remember, but the statement will give you the exact figures. 13,000 of them are in grade 1. 21,000 are in grade 8. Those are the 34,000 that need to be placed. If I have to give you the numbers of those that have been placed, is 241,000. If we have such a number of 34,000 parents, that's learners that need to be placed, what is the process? But I just want to explain the process so that parents can understand where we are. Places in Gauteng, schools are in demand due to constant annual increase of numbers in Gauteng. And as a department, we have taken a decision. There is no learner that is going to be chased away purely because they've just arrived in Gauteng. That decision is a decision that we want to defend. And therefore, it has put pressure on the number of learners that are coming to Gauteng. But again, the 2020 admission was based on new regulations of feeder zones. And these new regulations of feeder zones have caused confusion, where parents felt that I'm staying in the feeder zone and I've not been given a space. We want to explain how do we allocate spaces, because majority of people are saying, give us the criteria. How did you allocate the spaces that we've given? So I want to take 5 criteria that we are utilizing to give space. The first one, we call it the home address closest to the school within the feeder zone. So we utilize the home address of the applicant, and we start with those that are close to the school. You'll hear somebody say, but I'm 6 kilometers from the school. Yes, we are 6 kilometers from the school, but someone is 2 kilometers from the school. So we'll take the someone that is 2 kilometers. If there is still space, we'll go to 3. If still space, we'll go to 4. We'll share with you the figures and we'll see how we've managed that. So that's the first part. The second part is what we call siblings. If you have a direct biological, and I'm emphasizing the word biological, if you're a direct biological sibling, then you'll be in a position to place you. But remember, you might have a direct sibling only to find that when we take the first sibling, the school is at, say, you've got capacity of 120. By the time we receive the application of the second sibling, the school is 136. So you indeed have a sibling, but the school is already full. That is why the sibling will be on the waiting list. But we'll prioritize that particular sibling. So the placement of a sibling is not automatic. So we can't remove somebody and place you. We keep it there. And that is why some people say, I've applied using the same number for 2 learners. One is taken, the other one is not taken, because we're ranking those particular children. So that aspect will be attended to. And I will come when I come to the issues of way forward on where we're going to place those children. So I said the first one is home address. The second one is sibling. The third one, which is where majority of the applications are coming from, is what we call work address. So after criteria 1 and 2 are exhausted, applicants that have used the work address within the feeder zone are placed. The anchor address remains the home address, followed by the siblings. Then we have the work address within the feeder zone, and if the school still has space, If not, the learners will be placed where there is available space. And when we say where there is available space, that's where also there is a lot of confusion. A parent say, your system has placed me at the school that I've not applied. Remember, we've got an obligation to place your child. So if we can say we are not rejecting your child, you will come and say, but January is coming, I don't have a school. That is why we place, so that a learner can have a school. But you are now, you'll see when you go to the way forward, we are giving these parents who feel that we have placed them at a school that have not accepted, we're giving them what you call appeal forms, so that they can appeal, and then we can be in a position to engage those parents. Then the fourth criteria that we are using, that subject to available space, learners whose parents live within the 32-kilometer radius will then be placed. So it's the fourth criteria. So these criteria are on the basis of preference. So the first one is address, the second one is siblings, the third one is work address. While there's still available space, we'll go to the 30-kilometer radius. And the last one, while there's still available space, we'll go outside the 30-kilometer radius. So that's the criteria that we use to place learners. But there are three additional things that we have to consider when you place a learner. Is it a boys' school? Because you can't take boys to a girls' school. Is the curriculum relevant? Because you can't take a child that is doing agriculture to a school that is not offering agriculture. Thirdly, which is very, very important, is all other school-related matters. For example, there is a Muslim school, there is all this religious and language and all other related. So those are the three additional that comes on top, because you can't take a girl to a boys' school. So they will then skip a boys' school if it's a girl to place them into another school. Some schools in our region have already reached their full capacity, and I want just to quote 5. And I'm really thrilled that they invest for the very first time since we started the online registration, that our investment in township education is starting to yield dividends. There are township schools that are already full. Township schools, something that was unthinkable, and I'll give you the names of those schools. But I want to give you an example, because some people say, MEC, we want to go to a paper-based admission, not an online registration. And reality is, if we have North Cliffy, let's take North Cliffy. North Cliffy can only take 280 learners. Of the 280 learners, we received 1,485 applications. So they've got spaces for 280 and are receiving 1,485 learners. So whether you use paper or not, someone will not be taken. So the good thing with our online registration is that it gives us an indication where our schools are full, so that we can immediately make an alternative. Let's go out to another school as well, Alberton High School, which is a school that is in demand. They can only take 202 learners. As I'm speaking to you now, 1,460 parents applied. So whose child must be removed so that my child can go in? Hence, we are utilizing the 5 criteria that I've just explained, plus the 3 additional conditions that needs to be attended to. There is a school that is next to Soweto that is very popular called Sir John Adams High School. There, the school can only take 280 learners, and we push them. We pushed these schools. They can only take 280 learners. They've got 1,155 applications that they need to process. So on the basis of this, the department will then engage parents, and I want to explain the processes that wants to engage parents. Of the 34,000 that don't have SMSs that we have not communicated to them where their children will be placed. Today, we released 6,000 available spaces to these parents. There are 34, we've released 6,000, and we are waiting for them to accept. But those that might not accept, we are now releasing our teams to consult with the parents. Of all the 34,000, there is space. That is why we say there is no child that will not be without a school. Of the 34,000, we'll say to them, you wanted Parktown Girls, but there is Parktown High that has a space. Can we take your child there? So we are launching a consultation process. That is why people have gone to district, filled their forms. We will call them back and say, yes, you wanted Parktown Boys. On the Parktown Boys, it's full, but Parktown High School is not full. Can we take them? So we are starting the consultation process. And that consultation process will take us until the 30th of November. Remember, of the 34,000 people that I said don't have accommodation, they don't have accommodation at the schools they applied, but there is accommodation in the system. So we don't have a crisis of there is no school. There is a school, but it's not the school that you applied at. So we are now officially starting the consultation process. We'll consult with those parents until the 30th of November. That's the first part. The second part, we are now capacitating what you call our customer interaction centers. We are capacitating our district offices, we are capacitating our call center, we are capacitating our server to deal with the emails that parents are sending us. So the HOD and the teams are working hard on that aspect. We want to assure parents that our system is transparent. We can account for every application, unlike when you use a paper where we need to collect all these things from all the school, consolidate and deal with things. So the system is transparent. Every application can be accounted. Every application we can explain what time to apply. Every application we can account to it. So any person therefore has the right to appeal. So we are releasing the appeal form. Of the 34,000 or those that we've placed at schools that they don't want, we are now releasing the appeal form, and the appeal form will go to the district. From the district, it will go to the HOD. If you are still not happy, then the appeal form will come to the office of the MEC. There have been parents say that they want to buy school uniform. Our process will end at the 30th of November like it has done last year. So no one will be disadvantaged. Last year, we concluded this process on the 30th of November, and parents were given opportunity to ensure that. You will recall that we are the only province now that is dealing with this process of placement as we speak now, purely because of the numbers that we are dealing with. So we are still within the time frames, unlike dealing with these challenges at the beginning of next year, January. And this process has assisted us to identify the number of teachers that need to be employed. We've concluded that process. Yes. We've negotiated with teacher unions. So all the teachers that are needed, including the 34,000, we've already employed those teachers. The HOD is managing that thing. We've already identified teachers. This process has also assisted us to get all the relevant textbooks. This process has already assisted us to get all the relevant furniture. But you know, come January, you'll be sitting with me like this. There will be new people that want to make a new, fresh application. And we want to advise parents, no late registration will be entertained until we finalize the placement of the 34,000 parents, learners, because it does not make sense to open for late registration while we've got 34,000 learners that still needs to be placed. I want to quickly go to frequently asked questions. The first one will be, MEC, my child is at grade R school at, say, Northleaf Primary School. Why must I apply to grade 1? Why can't you just take the learner, because it's in grade R, why can't you take the learner to grade 1? Remember, grade R is regulated differently from grade 1. With grade R, if the school fees is 80,000, for example, and Madlamini can't afford 80,000, it means Madlamini can't go to that grade 1. But in grade 1, we've got what we call where people that don't have money can apply. Fee exemption. So if you take people automatically, you are going to close out those that don't have money to pay for grade R fees. And that's the only major reason. And grade R does not speak about feeder zones. Grade R does not speak about work address. When you take a child to a grade R, they don't ask you where do you stay. Do you have a feeder zone? So the regulations are different, and that's the reason that will have parents raising that particular aspect. The second aspect, which we really feel that we need to clarify, if a child is placed at the school by the system and you don't want that child to be placed at that area, you have the right to remove that child. That is why we say decline. You have the right to decline, and then when you decline, we'll be in a position then to appeal and will place and conclude the appeal. All our appeals are concluded within 14 and 21 days. So by the end of November, we still feel that we'll deal with all other issues of appeals if parents feel that they need to appeal. So I want to once more apologize to parents and indeed indicate to them that our personnel is now on top of the situation. Our district offices will be capacitated immediately with the relevant support that they need. Our online system has not been hacked or offline or down. As I said, it has processed 85% of the applications. We are remaining with 15%. We are quite convinced come the 30th of November, we'll be in a position to deal with the remaining 15%.